Hey TV fans, bored now, back with Rachel McDonald. We return to Stars Hollow for season 2, episode 3 of the Gilmore Girls. The episode is called Red Light and the Wedding Night. So Lorelai's jitters over marrying Max continue in this episode, and the big scene of the episode is really when her, Suki, and a couple of others, including Michelle, which is fun.
Yeah.
To Red Pie, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And Lorelai bizarrely chooses this night to ring her ex Christopher, lies about it to Rory, tells her then it's Max she's calling, but calls Christopher out of the blue and says she's getting married to Max. And they have a bit of a moment, and Rory finds out about it the next day and is worried about her mum. So, yeah, this is the episode where basically at the end of the episode, Lorelai decides it's not the best idea to marry Max, and we end up with the girls going on a road trip at the end of this episode. So what do you think of the episode?
I like this episode. It's a nice continuation from the previous episode where, like you said, we see that Lorelai is still working through her doubts over over her engagement. Also in this episode, we have Max move into the Gilmore Girls' house for a weekend because his old place is getting painted. So Lorelai suggests that he come and stay with them, and you can see that she's not entirely comfortable having him in the house. I mean, when they're in bed, he's fast asleep, and she actually goes downstairs and crawls into bed with Rory because she's like, "Oh my God, there's a man in my bed."
Yeah.
And Rory's like, "Yes, Mum, it's Max, your fiance." So I think this episode, very clearly works through that. I mean, I think we all knew, from the second she said yes, that she was not going to go through with this engagement. It was either just her maybe getting caught up in the moment, or maybe thinking, yeah, I like Max, why shouldn't I marry him? But I think this episode obviously hammers home that she's definitely not ready and that Max is not the guy for her. I do also like, there's another little town event in this episode that I actually find quite cute and has a funny moment where they install their first traffic light, the crosswalk, and Luke is very against it and is yelling at Taylor for it. And there's a great bit where they go to do the grand opening of it, and Taylor's like, "Welcome, townspeople," and then he gets hit in the face with a piece of paper that Luke has thrown at him, and he's like, "Oh, so you're just going to ruin things right from the beginning." So I think that's a lot of fun. Lorelai's bachelorette party, I think, is really fun, from them lying to get Rory into the club because she's underage, and they're all like, "Make way for Rory, internationally known, overseas model," and she's very big in Sweden, with that lederhosen and such. And then, of course, the fact that they go to a drag queen place and Emily is there. Yeah. And Lorelai is absolutely horrified, but you have that beautiful story about Emily wanting to try her wedding dress on every night, and that's when everyone, goes to make the calls. I think the fact that Lorelai calls Christopher is very telling, because they're all calling people that they feel that they have feeling, like Rory calls Dean and Suki calls Jackson, and they're all checking in on their various partners. So I think the fact that Lorelai calls Chris is quite telling, and especially as we go through season 2, we will see that this is more of a season for Chris and Lorelai. We see Chris a lot more over this season. And I think their phone call, just once again for me, just illustrates how natural Christopher and Lorelai are. Even on the phone, they're cute and they're joking around and they have a very natural banter. And I think she has good chemistry with David Sutcliffe, who plays Christopher. So I really like that. But I think this is another one of those Gilmore Girls episodes that, it's just fun to watch. It's got all the usual pop culture references and it's got some good character moments. This is really Lorelai's episode, I feel. Rory doesn't get as much focus this episode. No. In fact, I don't know that she's really got her own storyline this episode. I think this is mostly focused on Lorelai.
Really.
Yeah, and I think that's important, obviously, as we get towards the wedding. We want more focus on Lorelai so that we can see, how she's trying. There is a moment between her and Max where he yells at her a little bit, and you can see that the cracks are already there and they're not even at the wedding. Oh, that's right. There is a conversation that I really do like between Max and Lorelai. They go out on a double date with Rory and Dean, and Rory and Dean are still out the front. Max, is all like, "Oh, they're still out there." And then it goes into this whole conversation of what is his role in Rory's life? can he punish her? What happens if he comes home and she's like doing like he's like, what happens if she comes home drunk or something? And Lorelai basically makes it very clear that in her mind, Max is not going to be part of Rory's life. And I think that's a very important thing to bring up. You know, obviously, if you're dating someone with a kid, that is a conversation that needs to happen. So I think, again, the fact that Lorelai hasn't given thought to that really shows that she's not ready for this marriage.
Solid. It's not one of my favourites, I would say. I think it's probably, out of the three we've had this season, maybe the weakest.
I think so,
possibly, like you said, I would have liked to have had like a plot for Rory, and also probably just because you haven't got a couple of like the big supporting, like there's no Lane in this episode, and she always sort of picks up an episode, and obviously there's no Paris, so she would have been a good addition, but it's solid. It's not a favourite of mine, I wouldn't say. One thing I like about the stuff with Max and with the sleepover is I like, and Gilmore Girls does this a lot, where they reverse the dynamics almost, where it's actually like Lorelai acting the more like teenage-like sort of thing, because it's like her boyfriend's or fiance in this case, like his first sleepover, and she's getting nervous about it, and it's actually Rory acting like the adult, giving sort of adult type advice. And I think that even includes nearer the end of the episode where she confronts her about Chris and about well, why did you ring him on your wedding night weekend bachelorette party, and why did you lie about it? That's the crucial thing. But like you said, it's telling that the other girls all found their partners, and she found Christopher. And I did enjoy, as you said, that chat as well, and the banter. I particularly liked him mocking Max's music taste, or potential music taste. That was good. That feels like very realistic banter between two people who have history type thing. So it's sort of fine, this episode. It doesn't really like grab me like some episodes do, but I did like some of the dynamics with Lorelai and Rory, and with the stuff with Max as well, because like you said, it does bring up, although he was a little bit forceful about it, you can obviously see where he's coming from. And Rory is still quite a young person, and if he marries Lorelai, he would become like a father figure to her. In a way. So he does need some, rules of the house, so to speak, and how to act a little bit. Quite down on Luke in the last episode. And I defended him in the last episode, and I stand by that defence. But in this episode, I'd say he has a mixed episode, because the scene in the diner, he's pretty atrocious. Really.
He's a bit of a dick to Max in that episode.
He is. Even though he made it quite funny, he was sort of crossing that line from like humour to actually putting the guy down. Because the line about free papers and what that does to the environment was pretty funny. But it was, and I mean, I think you just see like a difference in their personas. Max is a more educated sort of guy who reads like newspapers. And the way Luke would just be, well, who is this guy sort of thing. So it is playing up like the class difference. But the way he spoke to Max when he came in was like pretty top of the morning to you. And
Max, buddy, how you doing? It's like, okay, Luke. Look, I have to say that is entertaining. I will give him that.
Up on it, and she mentioned it at the end when Luke gave the, what's it named, the hooper? The hooper, But that scene I do like, and I do, it might be something we disagree on, but I do actually think that is a sincere apology
I do too.
Luke.
No. I agree. I do agree.
Yeah.
Mm. I
Yeah.
think it's a sweet scene. I think he is being sincere. I think he does actually feel bad about what he's done. But like I said last time we were talking, it's like, dude, the big gestures are all well and good, but let's work on actually being there for Lorelai throughout her engagement. But I have to admit, he doesn't annoy me as much in this one. I think because we're getting towards the tail end, and I know that Lorelai is already detaching anyway. So it's like nothing Luke really says to her is going to make much of a difference at this point.
And it makes you wonder if the showrunners at this point know that they're planning that relationship in the future.
I think they were, because they have that very deliberate shot of Luke and Lorelai from the back standing underneath the hoopah right after they've spoken about, marriage can be good if you find the right person. And I do think that for narrative purposes and the fact that they were going for Luke and Lorelai eventually, I think that was a very cute way to kind of hint that, yes, it will be Luke in the end, even though I personally don't ship them. I think the way that they did that scene and the framing of that shot was quite cute and was done quite well, and was a nice little breadcrumb for the Luke and Lorelai shippers saying, yeah, it is coming, just give us some time, like we're laying the foundation here. So yeah, Luke in this episode doesn't annoy me as much, like I said, because we are getting towards the tail end. Plus I always find it funny whenever he's getting under Taylor's skin, and he is doing that in this episode, so I kind of like that part of the episode a bit more. And he's not actually in it that much, and like I do agree with you, I think his apology is sincere. I think he probably has gone away and thought about how he's been acting and kind of realized, I've been a bit of a dick, I might need to go over and make things better with Lorelai. So yeah, Luke this episode, he's okay.
Maybe his past relationship that failed might have some impact on the way he acts, because I think maybe he being burnt like that, he's gotten this cynical idea about relationships, and I think that's maybe impacted, and it's made him more cynical. I mean, obviously we didn't see like pre Gilmore Girls Luke with his marriage and everything, so it's possible he was very different in the past. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. The impression I get is that he's always been a bit of a cranky bum, but that's all right. Luke, I go up and down with. So as we continue the series, there'll be some good episodes where I really like Luke and some episodes where I want to smack him in the face. This is an episode where I don't mind him, so yeah.
Like rivalry is one of the small
I love Luke and Taylor. Oh, they have so many great moments across the series, and their dynamic is so much fun. Yeah, any scene with those two, I just eat up. It's so good. So yeah, I like the little banter that they have in this episode as well. There's some fun highlights in this episode. Michelle dancing at the drag club is always fun. When Lorelai gets back to the table, it's like, where'd Michelle go? Said he had to shake his thing. And then later on, when they're like, Michelle, we missed you. And he's like, oh, yes, I sat at a table with Celine Dion and Mariah Carey. Very nice men. Yes, I thought that was fun. And I do like when they go out to dinner with Dean and Rory, and, they're talking about how full they are. And then they're like, oh, let's get ice cream. And Max is like, how could they possibly eat more? And I like Dean giving Max a little rundown on the girls. I thought that was cute. How Dean kind of shares his knowledge. Yeah, that was
decent.
Yeah, I thought that was cute, and I think that really showed how Dean becomes very much. And we'll probably talk about this more as we go through the series and as we meet more of Rory's love interest. But I really think that one thing that Dean had that her other love interests don't is he really integrates into her life and really becomes close to her mother and becomes a part of that like family unit. And I think that this episode and him being able to like tell them all those little quirks about them really shows how much like he was able to like become a part of Rory's life and become friends with her mother and become friends with her friends and share that part of her life, whereas her later boyfriends maybe don't have that as much. So I like that this episode showed that.
Yeah. Okay. And also just that Emily showed up to the bachelorette party. I think that's quite a big gesture from her.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
She definitely added something different to that whole thing, because the rest of the people at that table were quite young in comparison. And I did like Emily offering an older person's perspective.
Yes. Plus,
so it was a good gesture.
Yeah, because I love Lorelai's absolute horror when she walks in. She's just like, "What in God is my mother doing here?" And Michelle's like, "Oh, I
Yeah, I didn't
invited
see
her."
that one coming.
Yeah, and then when she walks over and she's like,
Yeah,
"Hello,
because that.
sir. You look just like my mother."
Yeah, because you just know Michelle did that to annoy
Oh,
Lorelai rather than he
absolutely,
was just being nice.
100%. Oh, he totally did that to annoy her, and I love it. It's another dynamic I love. I love Lorelai and Michelle.
That was
They have a
great.
lot of really good back and
So
forth,
do I.
especially when they're at the
Yeah.
inn and they have some really fun moments. And yeah, I love that they kind of have this kind of love-hate relationship going, where they annoy the crap out of each other, but they also love and respect each other. So it works really well. But yeah, no, Michelle inviting Emily was
Yeah.
definitely done to annoy Lorelai and have a little bit of a laugh at her
To annoy.
expense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
Mm.
And also, like the very end is good because they return to the traffic light, don't they?
Yes,
Because
yes.
they have to stop and they're getting frustrated, and just the look they give is really funny.
Yeah,
And
because
it just shows you, like, once again, Stars Hollow, this really small town, they're not
hmm
used to something as common as a traffic light,
traffic
and
light.
it
I
just slows
know.
down their whole routine,
Yeah, because
sort of
it's so
thing.
funny because they're in the car. They're like, "We're on the road now. Nothing can stop us now." And then they're like, "Oh, okay." And they both kind of stop and then look at the traffic light, and it's like, "Oh, damn." So yeah, I do like that little bit of comedy. That was really fun, and it yeah
Yeah,
leads nicely
yeah,
into the next episode. And yeah, I think I'm with you.
yeah,
I think this episode is not anything spectacular. It's just another solid Gilmore Girls episode, kind of just necessary in the storyline we're telling at the moment. We need to see Lorelai's doubts
yeah.
and how she gets to the point where she runs out on her marriage, but it is missing a little bit. And like you said, missing characters like Lane and Paris definitely makes a difference. But it's still a fun episode to watch, I think, at the end of the day.
hmm
Mm.
Yeah, well, the next episode from memory, I remember being a bit of a big hitter, and I
Yes,
remember really
yes.
enjoying it. So
Mm.
I'm pretty sure there's a David Lynch reference in the next episode as well from
Yes,
memory, which has me
yes.
excited. So yeah,
hmm
that'll be fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, so the next one will obviously involve their road trip and the whole situation with Lorelai calling off the marriage and
Mm.
everything. So that should
Yeah.
be a fun one. We'll probably get to that in the new year if we don't get to that before, but that'll be the next episode. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. And we do other TV shows. We're currently doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We're working our way through that. We're doing those in like season long type videos. So we've recently done season 2. We're about to do season 3 probably in the coming weeks. So look out for that. Something else to, and I do other like newer type shows. So I've been doing The Handmaid's Tale, for example, the final season of that, which is on at the moment. I've also been doing, well, I recently did 1899, the Netflix
Mm.
show. So all eight episodes of season 1 I've reviewed and are up on the channel. So quite a few different TV shows being reviewed on the channel at the moment if you want to check them out. And Rachel, if you want to promote your channel.
Guys, you can follow me, Rachel McDonald, video essays on TV shows and movies, sometimes books as well. My Tumblr is also linked through my YouTube, and that's where I spend most of my time if I'm not on YouTube. And Keith usually puts a link in the description, so come and follow me everywhere.
Okay. Well, no mention of the T word. I'm shocked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No one's
Having a
promoting
divorce
Twitter
from
anymore.
the T word. Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.